welcome back to another episode of Accountant's Lounge. I'm Dawn Patton. This is Ashley Ford, and we are your host. We are just two friends talking about what it's like, the real of building virtual accounting firms, sharing our experiences, lots of storytelling as we share our experiences, but also just like giving new ideas and giving you permission to really create the business and life that you want to create. So, on today's episode, we're doing a series right now of hiring and when to know you're ready to hire. And today we're talking about money and the money aspect of knowing when you're ready to hire. Because I'll tell you, if you don't have a mindset block on hiring, you probably have a like physical block, and the excuse is the money and the finances. And Ashley and I just want to share a lot of different ways. Everyone does money differently, and money is such a personal thing. And it's not that everyone, I mean, yes, everyone does money differently, but it's also not like you find one strategy and you do that all the time.
Yeah.
New hires are going to be different strategies too. And so we really just want to give some ideas of things we've done or things we've seen for the financial aspect of hiring. So, kick us off, Ashley. Do you have like one go-to financial thing when it comes to money and hiring that helps you cross that hurdle of, okay, I know I can afford this. I know I can commit to this. Because that's the other thing is
Yeah.
it's not just I'm hiring someone. It's like a long-term commitment of this
Like, I'm gonna
person
keep
is,
paying them.
yeah, they're putting their life in your hands. Not
Yep.
totally, not actually, but it
It
is,
feels that way.
it feels that way. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
heavy weight. And it's not just the hourly pay, it's the taxes that come with that, some benefits that come with that, time it takes to train someone,
Yeah.
um, more subscriptions, more admin expenses. So there's a lot that goes into the finances of hiring someone besides just their pay that you need to be thinking about. And it is this kind of big weight. So tell us a little bit about your experience crossing that hurdle, Ashley.
Yeah, I think you said it so well, is that you might find a way that works for you, but it's going to change as your business changes. Everyone does money a little bit differently, but there's going to be strategies that just work in different seasons of your business, at different times of your business, from your first hire to all of your next hires. And so the way that I have financially planned for hires has just changed and evolved over time. Something that I did early on that I still love when we can line things up like this because it works out really nicely, but it also helped me feel really confident in having like an influx of money to pay for that new hire during that training period. Because you'll hear Don and I talk about kind of the runway that it takes to bring someone on and then train them. And that runway is usually about 3 months. So you want to kind of mentally prepare for 3 months of them not being at full capacity and kind of bringing on what you're hoping they will eventually. But what we really like to do is bring on QuickBooks cleanups at the same time as we bring on a new hire. We really enjoy doing QuickBooks cleanups as just part of my business. And when we can line up a QuickBooks cleanup with a new hire, it does two things for us. One, it's an influx of cash, which is great. So I already can kind of project out what that new hire is going to be bringing in once we get them filled with clients. But the QuickBooks cleanup kind of brings in that cash influx to help pay for that training period. So I'm not dipping into other funds.
Smart.
It also gives me the ability to train them during that QuickBooks cleanup. It's a great training opportunity for us on our processes, how things work on the back end. It teaches them things as far as skill set goes whenever they're diving into QuickBooks and into just all the bookkeeping things. So for me, it's kind of a double whammy, but it really helps with that financial piece to kind of have that influx of cash. Don, what's
I
something
like
that
that.
you feel like is like a tried and true that has worked for you?
Ours, I don't think I've ever lined it up with a QuickBooks cleanup, but that's because our cleanups are different. Because our cleanups, the way we do it, we only host them in VIP days.
Yep.
And so I'm not about to test someone's skill on it. One
Not on a
day,
one
VIP
day.
day.
No.
So that strategy wouldn't work for us, but I love that idea of like looking at it like, here's a nice cash influx to cover some of this training. Like that's brilliant. Our tried and true, like really what we always go back to is seeing the trend in where we're at with bringing on new clients. like our current sign rate, our current discovery call amounts, where we're at with like our marketing and funnels and things like that. So projecting the clients that we're going to have, which then helps us project the need and capacity. And we always, 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 I think there's only been one, maybe two hires out of the 20 people on our team. So small amount of people that I hired, like, okay, you're full time immediately or part, like whatever hours they wanted, you get that right off the bat. Everyone else has been you're going to grow into this role because as we get new clients, you'll get more and you'll get more and you'll get more. But our business, just with the growth that it's at, I'm giving them like 2 to 3 new clients a month. I can't be like, and here's 10 clients to start you off. Um, Even with the tax team, that's not a client thing, that's like a tax return thing. It's still the training and our processes. It's not a right off the bat, you can be doing 40 hours. It's a, hey, this is going to be overwhelming to learn at first. Let's expect about 20 hours a week for the first few weeks, and then we'll work you up as you know the processes better, as you like understand the trainings more and the software. So my tried and true strategy is the build up, the lead up. The finance way of that, like the finance looking at that thing is I only have to commit to so many hours of paying them during that runway training period. And so I usually just make sure that we have that fluctuating. Personally, for me, it actually looks like a little bit of a pay cut. I'm willing to cut my money and my salary and distributions and just give it to that person short term, knowing that once they're up and running, I'm gonna be making more money. So it's like an
Yep.
an investment with a very high ROI, hopefully, if everything works out with this new hire. So that's the way I look at it. I know not everyone has that luxury of like, yeah, I could just take a pay cut. So in that case, you might have to save in advance
Yeah.
for a few months before you can be ready to hire. But yeah, that's personally my mojo.
Yeah, and I think that's so great we get to talk about the different options because your financial situation is just going to look different from everybody else's. Like Don mentioned, you might be able to take a pay cut in order to hire somebody knowing that you're going to see the return later. But if you're like, I don't have space to take a pay cut, then look at your other options. There is so much flexibility there. You can make it a couple of months, set some money aside until you have about 3 months of their pay set aside in a savings account. And then you know you can afford to pay them for 3 months. And you guys, they should be making money in 3 months, at least some coming in. So it's not like you need to be
Yeah.
able to just pay their full pay for 3 months, but it does help you to sort of have that buffer and know that you can fall back on it should you need it. Or you could bring
Mhm.
on project work. Like you have all of these different options. And when Dawn and I are talking about a runway and training, if you're listening to this and you've never hired before, so you're thinking about hiring your first person, you can hire someone that is very experienced and knows exactly how to do what it is that you're asking them to do, and there still is a runway of training because you're training them on your team, your culture, your processes, the way that you do things. It just takes time. They're going to be overloaded with a lot of information. They need time to let that settle. They need time to become a self-starter in your business. They need time to get to know the team and how everyone operates. So you just need, whether it's an experienced person or someone that is coming in pretty fresh, pretty green that you're going to train, you need a plan for that runway of feeding the business some money to pay for them, whether that's through project work, something from the outside, your savings, your own pay, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to put need in air quotes because, again, every single business is different. And I do know some business owners that just, like, well, you'll train on the job, you'll learn on the job, and they're willing to overwhelm their new hires, knowing that eventually the people are going to get it and they won't be overwhelmed anymore. Versus, I know you and I take a little, this goes back to our cultures though,
Yeah, it does.
like the work-life balance, not wanting people to be overwhelmed by work, creating just that safe, relaxed space. So for our cultures and our work environment, we'd rather they have less hours, feel less of that overwhelm, spend time training that's not on billable hours, just on training. Whereas there are other businesses that's like, that's a waste of money. Why train on the job? Train with this client, get paid for it. So again, that's going to be different company to company. And maybe not just company to company, but hire to hire as needs happen. There's going to be times in your business where you're like, I don't have time to train. So yeah, you're going to have to train on the job with this client.
Yeah.
I'll review your work, but do do paid work kind of a thing.
Yeah, and you're so right. Again, it goes back to it just depends on where you're at in your business, and that could change. Like I've used different methods at different times in my business because there's just been different times where we've needed different things. There's been times where my team has been just at max capacity because all of a sudden we had an influx of clients. I had to bring someone on and they had to get up to speed pretty quick, but we still expect a little bit of onboarding time for them to sort of figure out how we operate. And the way that my team works right now is we bring all of our new hires on at full time immediately. So they start on a full time schedule. So I work to really fill that schedule with a lot of things, which is why for us, that project based work just works really well because it gives them time to play and learn at the same time while they're kind of watching a lot of our internal training videos and things like that. But my first hire started up at a few hours and we built her up. And you could have all of your hires do that. You have so much flexibility. I think when you go into hiring, a lot of times you think, oh, well, the candidates out there, this is what they're going to be wanting. But the truth is, they're just all humans. They're all people who have different needs and different wants. And if you go in knowing exactly what it is that you need, you're going to be able to find somebody that will be able to fill that role.
Mhm. And when interviewing, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's important to say when interviewing, be open and honest about that because
Yeah.
different people are going to have different takes on it. There are going to be some people that are like, give it to me all from the get go. One of our more recent hires, I wouldn't say made an exception. We just did something different with her where we offered her a salary from the start, which was kind of a big deal. But for her and her financial situation, she couldn't not be making X amount of money per month.
Needed that stability.
She needed that stability, but we knew we really wanted her. And yet I knew I couldn't, like, the salary, I wasn't going to give her, I can't remember. It's like 10 clients to pay for her salary or something like that. I wasn't going to give her 10 clients in her first month. Like,
Yeah.
that's not
Because
me.
we
I
want
wasn't
those
going to
people to
overwhelm.
stay.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted her to stay, but I also wanted the clients to stay. Like,
Yes, you're right. Both sides.
something
Yeah. Yes.
if that were to happen. And so we made that decision that it was going to be worth the investment there. Um, and what we did is we kind of just structured her pay so that I said 10. I think it's actually like eight, around eight clients pays for her salary. And so we said, okay, here's your salary. Once you get up to, and she wanted to be full time, and it wasn't a full time salary, it was enough to cover her current paycheck to replace her current paycheck. But we pay more than what her current paycheck was. Anyway, so we were like, here's this salary, we'll replace your current paycheck. Um, for us looking at it, it was about like eight clients that we needed her to be doing. So once she got to 12 clients, now she was making more than her salary. We were finally profiting from it. Then we could get her up to a full-time salary.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things like from our standpoint, we're not paying her a full-time salary, but we are paying her more than we typically would someone who's working that amount of hours, that amount of clients. But we were going to make up for it on the back end by just like delaying when she got her full-time salary. And in that case, like it worked out for both of us. So be open, be honest with the people that you're
Yes.
hiring, because in her case, it wasn't going to work out to slowly build up. And then typically, I feel like if someone were to ask what she was asking from the start, I would have been like, can't afford that. But we made it work. So get
Yeah.
creative with it too.
Yeah, I think that exactly. I think that just goes to show that you can get creative with it and it can be sort of fluid and flexible as you go. Don't feel like it has to be this rigid plan that you follow every single time. Every new hire you bring on just might look a little bit different. The way you financially plan for it might look just a little bit different. And that's okay. That's super normal.
Yeah. Okay. You know what method we haven't talked about yet? Okay. I'm sure we haven't talked about a few methods, but one that's coming to mind right now is looking at your effective rate.
Mm,
And
yes.
I don't really do this anymore now, but my first two hires, especially, because my first two hires were not people who were going to be making money. My first two hires were marketing and admin, which means they're not making money. They're simply an expense to me. And mindset wise, we're numbers people. We always think about things in money. I'm like, well, how does that make sense? But it makes sense by looking at your effective rate and saying, okay, here's how much time I'm spending on these things. I have people wanting to work with me that would pay me for, let's say it's like $75 an hour if I'm doing this paid project. So I could take on more projects, be making 75 per hour and paying this person over here $20 per hour. And in that way, oh, now it does make sense to bring on someone who is simply an expense to my business and they're not making me money because their way of making you money is freeing up your time so you could make more money.
Yes. Yes. And I think you're right. I think that can be a block for a lot of people. Like, oh, well, I'm just going to have to spend more money to have someone come in and do something that I could do. But it frees up your time to A, do things that you enjoy more, or B, do things that can bring your business more money, which is where your time is better spent.
And goes without saying, maybe you're not always bringing on someone to bring in more money. For example, if I go back to the marketing admin person, I could have justified that also by like way of life. I
Yes.
mean, I pay money for DoorDash, I pay money for a house cleaner, I
Yeah.
could pay money for an admin, and that helps support my way of life by freeing up capacity and time and energy. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be now I replace that time with making more money. Like it doesn't have to be the money isn't always about the money, I guess is what I'm saying.
I actually love that. It's
Oh,
more
but
about making sure that you in your business are getting to spend time doing what you love while
yeah,
also making money that you feel good about. There's no like exact amount for anybody. There's no exact amount for what that looks like for anybody. You have to decide what that looks like. And that's kind of the whole point of this, sharing different ideas, different ways that you can get creative and flexible with the way that you hire, the way that you financially plan for those hires and what you're going to be able to take home at the end of the day, because it's just going to look different for everybody. And it's going to look different even for one person in different seasons of their business.
yeah. Okay, another thing that I want to say is we're money people. And I think sometimes I just assume as we're talking to other accountants that they're in the money as much as I'm in the money because I'm a spreadsheet nerd. I love looking at the money, but that's not fair for me to assume. So let me voice this out loud too. Of a big aspect of looking at the financial side of hiring is getting getting personal with your money
Mm,
and figuring out what you need from your money. Like, where are you at boundaries wise with money? What do you need from your business? And then looking at your P&L and looking at your forecast and what's to come
yeah.
and making sure that what you're asking from your business can give it to you. And don't be afraid to ask from your business either. I feel like some people are timid of that. Like, well, I really want to be paying myself 10K a month, but that's not reasonable. So I should just expect 3K. Um,
No.
no, you get to write the rules. If you want 10K, ask 10K from your business and then go back to the money and get creative with the finance side. Like, how could you be paying yourself 10K a month? Again, we're numbers people. We should know this, but I'm going to reiterate. If you want to be paying yourself 10K, that doesn't mean your profits can be 10K because
Yeah.
from profits come taxes, come savings, and your personal pay. So, what do the profits need to be at to pay yourself the amount that you want to be paying yourself? Work backwards from there. What are your expenses? What's your income? And like get really deep with the numbers and have fun, like creating a plan of, okay, clients or passive income or where your time is going. And yeah, that's my 2 cents there is have fun with the numbers and imagining things.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I think oftentimes, even though we're money people and we help our clients with the money side of their business, we often don't really look at ours or it comes very last. Like it's the lowest on the totem pole. And when you're going through this practice, you've got to dive into your own finances. You've got to like treat yourself like a client, plan some time, dive in, get your books in order, make sure everything looks good, do your forecast, do your projections, have a good idea of where your business is and where you want it to go, and work through that planning.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Um, any other tips or stories you want to share about the finance side of hiring?
I feel like this was great. I think we shared, there's probably so many more ideas of different ways that you can plan for a hire. These are just things that have worked for us that we wanted to share with you guys. So take what resonates, take what works for you, and get creative on your own. Is there anything else you want to share, Dawn?
No, I just want to invite people to join in on this conversation. And if there was something here that resonates with you or something you want us to elaborate on, or a strategy that has worked for you that we didn't share about, drop it in the comments. We very much here in Accountants Lounge like to be a collaborative community. Like, there's no competition here. We're just a community. Let's work together. Let's spread ideas. Because how are we going to know unless we either learn it ourselves, which we don't need to learn everything ourselves. Thank you. We can learn from other people. So let us learn from you and let us learn from other people. So drop comments in down below in the comment section, or come join us in our Facebook group where we keep these conversations going. It's a free Facebook group. All are welcome. So long as you're being like uplifting and supportive and not a negative Nancy, you're welcome to come join us there. And then like and subscribe for more content. Can't wait to see you next time.